Alright, so this is the second part of my video. Now I'm actually going to address some logistics, which I think in our fairly masculinist society is what people prefer to some of the more ambiguous aspects of philosophy and general values. And maybe it seems a bit forceful of me to try to enforce my general values on people, so I'm just going to do what Peter Joseph more or less did and lay out some statistics. And I decided, just as not to grow redundant, I will actually take the time right now in order to read off a letter that I wrote to an acquaintance of mine, actually, a friend of mine, uh, because, you know, you might say that redundancy is when you try to do multiple things at the same time and end up kind of repeating yourself. I think that just giving you the letter would just be the best way to spread this message out, so here goes. I noticed some of your posts regarding ticks carrying a new virus. I am skeptical. You probably do not want to hear this, but my recent greatest burden has been something a friend of mine brought to my attention. His name is Nick DeMarco, and he has a cyst in his brain, which is fairly outwardly noticeable. It was ostensibly the result of a vaccination that went awry. There will soon be a law in effect, unless we manage to stop it, that not only forces people to take mandatory vaccinations against all these viruses, but that also allows companies to tell the scientific method to screw off, basically, in passing vaccinations if they want to. This is what big pharmaceutical companies did with experimental drugs such as risperidone and Depakote. I should know. I was put on them during a time in my life that I was following a cult and hanging out with someone who had major PTSD. They triggered psychotic symptoms. The way that pharmacists justify this is by saying, we do not know how these drugs work, but they do. Usually these are not the people taking them. Vaccinations are equally experimental. And this bill, Nick knows exact legal jargon for it, basically lets them get away with anything. As was wisely put by Peter Joseph, if you see it on the mainstream media, it is either unimportant or aimed at furthering an agenda. Not to be tinfoil hat or tinfoil hate, but I come from a country called the Soviet Union, where people learned to be skeptical of the information they were being fed. What is even scarier than propaganda is realizing that it is not true. Mainstream media outlets, who basically form a conglomerate with governments by virtue of such legislation as the TPP, look it up, or don't, either way though, make all naysayers look like fools. This is why the stereotypical denouncer of forced immunity is believed to think that vaccines create autism. Well, this is a formal fallacy. Actually, there are several fallacies in this. One, the straw person fallacy. We do not believe that. Autism is pretty much intense introversion. There is no autism spectrum. We are all on the autism spectrum. If you will pardon the paradox, why call it autism if we all have it? Some people are just more introverted than others. Two, the fallacy of begging the question. It's like saying, you do not believe in vaccinations, so you must believe this ridiculous myth that vaccines cause mental disorders. In fact, I believe in neither mental disorders, the DSM, nor vaccinations. Both are in the hands of Big Pharma. And three, where do you think that ridiculous rumors come from? Even despite the prevalence of Illuminati videos, the people who believe in them are a ridiculed minority. I have many views that barely get any hits on YouTube, whereas Meghan Trainor is everywhere. So, who is really in charge of widely held beliefs in the mass? The media. And by circulating these rumors and then shutting them down, they create a propaganda hoax. As the post-structuralist philosophers said, all language only refers to other language. All media only refers to other media. Again, sorry if this was not what you wanted to read at the moment. I was curious about what you were posting online. You seem like an interesting and intelligent, educated person. Whether you agree or not, sincerely, Dmitry. I think that pretty much lays it out for you. All of you.